Welcome to Demand and Disrupt, the Disability Podcast. Here, we will learn to advocate for ourselves and each other. This podcast is supported with funds from the Advocado Press, based in Louisville, Kentucky. Hello, and welcome to Demand and Disrupt, a disability podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Parsley.
And I am Lisa McKinley.
Hey, Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Doing very well. We have an exciting show today. We have Eliza Hall from Australia, from near Melbourne, Australia. Isn't that exciting?
Wow. All the way from the land down under.
I know. We are fully international. Last episode, we had Canadian author Frankie James. Now we have Australian author and musician Eliza Hall.
I'm taking this thing around the world.
We are. And I don't know about you. I think I'm starting to get a complex. Like these people who are so accomplished, you know, they've done so much. Like Eliza is a musician, and she's also written a children's book, and she's collected an edition of essays about parents with disabilities. And I mean, I first heard of her on the BBC. She was on a BBC podcast, and I'm like, dang, I sort of feel like a big lump of nothing over here. You ever get that way?
I do. And like the small things, you're just happy that, like, I'm just happy that I, found the garbage can on the side of the house to take out the trash, but then I got to remind myself there are other big accomplishments that I have made, and it's a balance, I guess.
It is. And it's that real tough balance between, like, do not be inspired by the fact that I got myself dressed this morning. However, that said, sometimes I'm sort of impressed with myself for getting dressed.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I hear about, people like Eliza, or people who do things like, I don't know, like disabled people who really challenge and push themselves, like, I don't know, climb Mount Everest or something. And I'm so impressed, but I'm also it just makes me tired.
Well, it's like we had Cindy Kessler on the program not too long ago, and she's a wheelchair user, and she's going to become a doctor. And I'm like, that is big. She's going to be a medical doctor. And she said that she just wants to inspire people. And I remember asking her, I'm like, how is that? Because there's some disabled folks, they want to be inspiring, and other people are like, I don't want to be people to use me as a source of inspiration for just doing everyday common things. And she said, yeah, like, I want to be seen for, my accomplishments, the hard things, but not for going to the grocery store and doing my groceries. I have to buy groceries. That should not be inspiring. So yeah, she spoke on that.
I guess it's something that all disabled people, we all grapple with that. I wonder, do non-disabled people grapple with this too? I mean, is this the root of like imposter syndrome, or like FOMO, fear of missing out? Like, I should be doing more than this other person. Is it just a human thing, do you think?
I don't know. That'd be interesting. We should ask someone.
We should ask people who are not disabled.
Yeah. Like, do you have anything in particular that do you remember somebody being inspired by something and you're like, seriously?
That would be an excellent question to ask someone. Yeah. But that's not what we do here. Our purview is all about disabled people, and there are some impressive disabled people out there, and we want to talk to all of them. So anyone who has any kind of story of someone awesome, or someone inspiring for doing the little things, even, send us an email to demandanddisrupt@gmail.com. We want to hear your story, their story, however it may be, right?
Yes, we want to we want to be inspired as well.
We
And,
do.
speaking of things that are inspiring, there are things that, disabled folks are doing and that just inspire the heck out of me. Wheelchair basketball, for one. I mean, maneuvering around the court in a wheelchair and getting a ball into a hoop when you're like 7 years old, like these kids start out early. Um,
Do they really?
they do. And
Huh.
actually, I was reading a story in the news, and a youth basketball team, the Lakeshore Foundation out of Birmingham, Alabama, they were in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for a youth wheelchair basketball tournament, and they went to a restaurant and they were turned away. There were 7 wheelchair users and their families. So basically, a party of 27. It was Bad Daddy's Burger Bar and Grill in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. They were turned away and allegedly told that they could not be served because they were a fire hazard.
Are you kidding me?
No,
What? Oh my God. I thought we were past that.
exactly. I mean, and when I first read the story, I thought it said 27 wheelchair users. And I thought, well, okay, maybe, but even still, you can move chairs, you can
Right.
get these people seated.
Right.
Then I reread the story. There were 7 wheelchair users and 20 friends and family members, and they wouldn't seat them. But here's the great part, and this is what you're gonna love and appreciate.
Uh-huh.
So the basketball team, they travel to different states. Of course, they need to do fundraising. So they created a t-shirt to sell that says fire hazard.
Oh, that is awesome. Oh, that
Isn't
is
that great?
awesome. Oh, that is impressive. I love it when people reclaim that kind of stuff. That they reclaim what's been used against them. I love that. That is amazing.
It's like
Oh,
t-shirt form of the middle finger.
it really, it really is. Oh my gosh, that is great. That is amazing. And so those poor kids. I mean, just doing their thing, living their life, doing something exceptional, and then they get that kind of treatment. That that just sucks. And
Yeah.
also, that's some bad business right there too, because they turned away a party of 27. I
Yeah.
mean, and
And
now,
apparently the restaurant was relatively uh unoccupied. There wasn't a lot of folks there. Um of course, I don't know how many people the restaurant seated. That would be good to know. I'm actually thinking about getting some investigative people in and going in
well,
there and kind of scoping it out for me to see how many
you
people.
get on that and you find out. And if I'm ever traveling in that area, I will not visit. I tell you, impressive people. We've got one coming up. You all are in for a treat with this interview with Australian author and musician Eliza Hall. Eliza Hall is a contemporary musician, disability advocate, and writer based in regional Victoria, Australia. She has been published in Growing Up Disabled in Australia, and her podcast series on parenting with a disability, We've Got This, was one of Radio National's and ABC's most successful series of all time. She was awarded the Arts Access Australia Leadership Award in 2021. I am thrilled to have joining us on Demand and Disrupt Eliza Hall, all the way from Australia. Hello, Eliza.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. How are things in Australia?
Well, very sunny today. It's still, summer and yeah, it's light breeze here. But no, everything's going really well here in Australia.
Excellent. And now, where are you in Australia?
I'm in a little town called Castlemaine, it's about an hour and a half away from Melbourne, is my closest city. And it's a beautiful area that is in the Macedon Ranges yeah, so beautiful natural environment, forest area. And I moved to Castlemaine about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. I think for a lot of people here in the States, Australia is one of those travel goals. You know, everybody would love to go to Australia someday.
It's just a shame it's so far away.
I'm not sure you could get farther. It's awfully far. Yeah. So, talking with you because of the book you edited, We've Got This, and it's a wonderful book. I loved every minute of reading it. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you to read just a passage from the very beginning of the introduction you wrote for the book.
Yes. Being a parent is a rebellious act. Disabled people should have the same right to parent as anyone else. But often when we decide to start a family, we are met with judgment and discrimination. We are questioned rather than supported. We have to push up against the medical system, which is particularly problematic for disabled people. And we have to confront how ableist society's model of parenting is, even in the 21st century. Yet, despite all of this, we still choose to parent, and we're damn good at it too.
Awesome. Gives me chills hearing you read it. It really does. What powerful writing. Thank you so much. So, you say being a disabled parent is a rebellious act. Tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, so that was the first line of the chapter, but also the first line that I ever kind of wrote in my head when I was even thinking about making this book. I remember pushing, at that time, it was my first child in a pram, and having people stare at me because of the way that I walk and because of my disability. And I just remember thinking, like, it really is, it shouldn't be a rebellious act, but it is a rebellious act because, society has these, I guess, discriminatory views about what it is to be disabled and therefore what it is to be a disabled parent. And there is often a view that people with disability can't be parents or shouldn't be parents. Often we're met with judgment when we even decide to be a parent, like I was. And so I guess for me, it felt like, you know what, I'm going to push up against these barriers that society has constantly, put up for me, and also push back on the medical system because I was often met with discrimination and judgment. Sometimes that would be, very subtle, but oftentimes it was very clear that they, believed that I shouldn't be a parent. And, after my first, I was said, well, you can't have another one, and, surely you wouldn't have another one. So I think it is just so ableist that people have these views that we can't or shouldn't be a parent. And it made me realize that to still parent in the face of all of that discrimination and judgment, and then that really is a rebellious act. One day I hope it's not. One day I hope we have more, representation and, through these conversations and through education in the medical spaces, because I feel like that is really a big area that needs to shift. I think that we will start to see attitudes change over time, and hopefully it will not be rebellious at all to be a parent with a disability.
Awesome. I hope you're right, but yes, second to everything you said. Absolutely. So tell me about the book, We've Got This, and how it came to be.
It came to me because when I was deciding to have my first child, I was going to my neurologist, who I'd been going to really for a long time because I've had my disability since I was 5. And when I said I want to start a family, I've met somebody that I want to be with, and he first didn't say anything actually at all, and went through his computer and was reading and kind of almost ignoring what I wanted to talk to him about. And then he started to question whether I could or should be a parent. So it was saying things like, are you going to be able to manage? What if you fall over? Telling me that there were other options out there that didn't have to actually be a parent. I could potentially, foster a child occasionally. I guess he filled me with a lot of shame and vulnerability in that moment when he doubted whether I should be a parent. He also then started to talk about genetic testing and how I really should make sure that lots of things that really I shouldn't be a parent, but that if I was to be a parent, that I should make sure that we figure out whether my child would have my disability.
What an asshole. What an absolute asshole. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. It wasn't a great time. But you really learn to trust medical professionals. So I remember coming home and saying to my partner that this had taken place and what he had said. And luckily my partner was like, well, that's rubbish, isn't it? Like, really, like that, we're going to do this. Like we can do it together. And if I had have listened, I wouldn't have the two children that I have. We have a great family. And yes, there's been things that I've had to change in the way that I parent. I parent slightly different at times. I've always parented in a way that has never put my kids in any harm, or as that's kind of what he made me feel like I was going to do, really, if I think about it. And I just there's just no there was not a possibility of that ever happening. So I think I did start to wonder whether I could be a parent, and that's when I searched online for any stories of disabled parents that I could relate to. And often it was, portrayed like the child was a victim to have a disabled parent. Often, the stories weren't actually told by disabled people, they were told by non-disabled people. And there was just so much stigma that existed. And that's when I was like, okay, I've been reading so many parenting books. I was at the time was even reading a parenting book about creativity as a creative parent. So why 20% of the Australian population have a disability, and in Australia, and worldwide, we see that there's just so many disabled parents that exist out there, similar in America. So why do we not represent these parents? Why do we not hear these stories? And I think it again made me realize that's because society still holds these ableist views about being a parent with a disability. And that was the kind of aha moment for me, and made me realize that a book like this really needs to exist, so that if you are disabled and questioning your own, whether you want to have a child or not, this is, the book for you. If you just want to read disabled stories, this is the book for you. And if you're already a disabled parent, I think this book makes you feel far less alone. I think the other thing I've really loved is when people have reached out saying that their family had told them they shouldn't be a parent, and that this book has made them realize that they'd really been lied to over the years, that they can and want to be a parent, but had been listening to others' views on their own abilities. So that really fills me with a lot of happiness, because I think I know what that feels like, to be told that you can't or shouldn't be a parent.
Mm-hmm. And much like the book that we talk about on this show a lot, A Celebration of Family, Stories of Parents with Disabilities, it's interesting. It's kind of that synergy thing where we were both sort of doing the same thing, at nearly the same time.
Nearly the same time. So I had put out the series with the ABC, which is I put a podcast series out about parenting with disability first, with the same name. Now that was before your book came out, but then I was working on the book, and you were all working on the book. So it's just very odd, isn't it? How
it is. And of course, when you say ABC, you mean the Australian Broadcasting Company, right?
Corporation. That's right.
Corporation. Right. And of course, Dave Mathis, who edited A Celebration of a family here is the one who put me in contact with you when he found out that you had written this book or edited this book. So tell me how you went about choosing it. It's a collection of lots of different parents and their stories from really almost all over the world, right? Lots of places. So tell me how you went about choosing people and collecting these stories.
So the first collection was an Australian book of the same name. It was titled We've Got This. That was the Australian book that came out. And then I I was actually based in England publisher that then contacted me and wanted to release another collection of We've Got This with Australian writers, English writers, Canadian writers, American writers, and put it into a kind of international version. And so, as you said, there are writers that are American, Canadian, English, Australian, and also South Sudanese writer as well, which is she is living in Australia, and she was a refugee and writes about her experience of being disabled in South Sudan and coming to Australia and having children and what that's been like.
Wow, and all of the stories are really compelling and moving. It's really a wonderful collection. And I'll put a link to the U.S. Amazon store in the show notes for anyone who wants to check that out.
Thank you.
So tell me about your own parenting journey. Obviously, you did ignore the advice of the asshole doctor. And now you have, that's his name from here on out forever. That's his name. So you have 2 children. Is that right?
Now, a nearly 9-year-old next week, and she's turning 9, and a nearly 4-year-old. So he's 4 in April. And I guess my experiences were fairly different in that I really didn't have much education around how to advocate for myself. So the hospital were really frightened of me. They were worried for me, and they got me to birth. I actually wasn't really allowed to move at all. They just had me on a bed. That was because they were worried for falls. Yeah, I think it was a very different birthing experience because of that. And then my second, I was kind of armed with more knowledge, but that still didn't mean the discrimination didn't unfold in that the sonographer would, be checking to make sure that my child, wasn't like me, which is the way they kind of framed it, and that they didn't have I was told that I shouldn't have another child. And just, it was also the subtle ways that people just stare at you. And that, unfolded with both my children because of the way that I do get my children out of the car. I do it really safely, leaning up against the car, making sure the pram's right up near the car. It might look a little bit different to some people, the way I kind of parent, but I always do it with my children in mind. So everything I do is like, well, how is this going to work best for my child, really? And not worry about what other people say or how they look at me. And I think I also just learned how to adapt. For instance, that there were times where when my children were at an age where they could, slide on their bum down the stairs, we would do that together instead of me holding them, so that it wasn't at risk of any danger of me holding them and trying to manage getting downstairs, because that can be really hard if I'm, anyway. So we would go down the stairs together, one step at a time. I would find adaptive techniques to give my children a bath by using certain like specialized baths that I got, where it meant that I could use the technology and the adaptive technology to, just safely get my children in and out of baths. all things that I did, just like little hacks of like putting cushions, like heaps of cushions on a chair so I could get up off the chair. And just realizing that by being a parent that moves differently in the world, that has actually provided us more time. Like I'm definitely more patient because I had to be. Like I've had so much times in hospitals and surgery, and there's, I don't walk fast at all. Like it takes me a long time to get anywhere. So that enables us, if we're going to go for a walk, to really smell the flowers and enjoy looking at nature, and be, I guess, a bit more patient and relaxed parent, and be present in different ways. Like I might not be able to, carry my child, or might not be able to run around or play in that certain way, but I, do reading and arts and crafts and play on the floor. And so I think it's just realizing that you can adapt and be the parent that you need to be in maybe a different way, but that's okay. And I think ultimately I'm teaching my children that we are all different as humans, and that difference is not something to be afraid of. It's something that ought to be celebrated. And disability is part of the beautiful tapestry of what it is to be human, and that's okay. I think it's taught them all of those things, and they're very caring children. They will often move toys off the floor, and so that they know that I don't fall over, and they hold my hand, and they're just very kind. And so I think that's part of it. That's part of me having a disability, has taught them those skills.
Yeah, my kids are the same way. They're compassionate. They look for opportunities. To help people. They seek those opportunities out. They notice people who are different, and they show up to advocate for them. So they do things that when I was their age, I was not able to do. Just emotionally, I was not as advanced emotionally as they are, and I think a lot of that comes from having a parent who's disabled. And we disabled people, we are problem solvers, aren't we?
Yes, yes. The book really shows that how blind parents parent, how deaf parents parent, how people with dwarfism parent, and all the ways that we use certain things to make our house more accessible, whether that be certain technology, or even just like little hacks, like for instance, there's a mother that I know who has dwarfism, and she just decided to cut the change table legs so it was the right height for her, and then it works perfectly. So it's like,
Yeah, right.
doing things to shift how we parent, and show that we are really creative and great problem solvers. And I like when people ever question whether we should be a parent, I really push back on that, because I think being disabled, we have to constantly adapt in our lives. And whenever I go into a room, I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, so where is the accessible, is there an accessible toilet here? How do I get up that area to get into that room? And how do I navigate those stairs? And you're constantly having to figure out ways to adapt in the world that we live in, because it's often inaccessible. So I think that it's up to be great parents. Like we already have those skills. We already have the skills of flexibility, problem solving, creativity. And I think that is really required when you become a parent.
And this is not We've Got This is not your only foray into publishing. Am I right? You also wrote a children's book?
Yeah, so it's out in the US now, finally, which is
awesome. Awesome. So tell me about that.
Come over to my house, and it's kind of, the reason I created it, I was working on a TV show for children. It's called Play School, and we were doing a segment where we wanted to talk about disability and have children go and I guess get a sense of what it is like to be visit different families. So families that are deaf, or mother that might be blind. And unfortunately, the TV show didn't end up deciding to do anything on disability. But because I'd created that idea, I thought, well, why don't I just turn it into a book then? And so I then went to a friend of mine who's in the world of children's publishing, and we started working on this book together. And it invites children into various homes where you'll meet all different characters. It's very colourful and vibrant and fun. It's rhyming, and you get taught sign language from the family that has a mother that's deaf. There's a mother that's blind, and she has a seeing eye guide dog. There's a father and child with dwarfism, a mother with an intellectual disability, a father with limb difference that builds cubby houses and skate ramps. And all the families show just how adaptable and creative disabled people are, and how they are just like any other family, but have some differences as well, and that's okay. There's also a family that are autistic and use noise cancelling headphones when they're playing. And yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, show children that there's nothing to be afraid of when you have a disability, and that in fact, even having a disability can really potentially add to your life. And so it had a really good reaction, I think, especially from parents that have not really known how to talk about disability or bring it up in their home. They've been afraid they might get it wrong. And so it's been a real great conversation starter.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you said it is available in the United States now, right?
Through Amazon, and I think it's in bookstores as well.
Wonderful. That's exciting. So, Eliza, you have done a lot of stuff. So, and I know you're also a musician on top of everything else, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my music is definitely a big part of my life, especially right now. It goes through phases when you make a record and then start to tour it. But right now I'm in kind of a music phase where I've just put out a record and I'm doing a lot of shows. And at the moment, I'm also doing workshops for emerging songwriters with disabilities. So going into various locations around the country and teaching songwriting for artists that might not have ever had the chance to learn about songwriting if they have a disability, and then performing in that location and getting an emerging artist with disability to support open the night with their music as well. So it's got a real community focus, and yeah, it's something that I'm really proud of having in because I feel like we've had such a lack of disability representation in the music industry.
Tell me, if people want to find out more about you and about all the stuff that you do, where can they find you online?
Yeah, so I guess anywhere really, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media, but also my website is elizahull.com.
elizahall.com. All right. I will put a link to your website in the show notes, and people can visit and follow your career and see what's coming up next for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Eliza, for joining us.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks,
Really.
everyone. We'll talk to you next time. If you like the podcast, remember to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you really like the podcast, we'd love it if you could leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. That helps more people to find us. If you really, really like the podcast, then please tell someone about it, either in person or send them an email or just share the link on social media. Thank you all. Every bit helps, and it makes a huge difference for us. If you'd like a transcript, please send us an email to demandanddisrupt@gmail.com and put transcript in the subject line. Thanks to Steve Moore for helping us out with transcripts. Thanks to Chris Unkin for our theme music. Demand and Disrupt is a publication of the Advocado Press with generous support from the Center for Accessible Living located in Louisville, Kentucky. And you can find links to buy the book, A Celebration of Family, Stories of Parents with Disabilities, in our show notes. Thanks, everyone.
You say you've seen a change in me. Just for once I think I would agree. We both know there's a difference. We've had our curtain call, and this time the writing's on the wall. War of words we can't defend. Two damaged hearts refuse to mend. This situation's pointless with each and every day. It's not a game we need to play. Tried to make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter spells out the need for us to open up our minds and hearts to change. Then what will be, will be. Disregard for good to set us free. There's just no way of knowing if love lives anymore. We'll turn out the light, then close the door. Tried to make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter